Hey everybody, it's the Epistemologers here, and today's topic is Truthseeker Drama. This is kind of off of the Truth Seeker's quandary, but really we've noticed this trend lately of sort of the amount of drama truth seekers are able to create. Now, I'm of the opinion that drama isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it's just a means of focusing attention, right? But if you're truth seeking, if you're fighting, if you're engaging, and you're not really adding to the discussion, then you can kind of say it's drama for drama's sake. You're just feeding the attention. You're giving your attention to the people who are arguing.
My contention is that even though drama is not generally a bad thing, it's that it tends to be a symptom of something bad. And in this case for truth seekers, the drama is they really just get in this mindset that the other guy just is not accepting the truth.
Yes.
And both of them are doing this. And they don't stop for a second and look at themselves and figure out exactly what they're seeing is not compelling to the other person.
So they don't come to
a
synthesis, is what you're saying. They're not able to find. They're saying one person says no, the truth is this, and the other person says no, the truth is this, and then they just keep on saying that over and over again, and it just it creates such drama,
round and around,
it goes.
It's kind of pointless emotional energy put into this thing, and they're all just want to get to the truth. Well, it doesn't work like that. You don't actually get to the truth if you're just screaming at the other person for not getting the truth. Yeah.
Are you really trying to get to the truth if you're just screaming at the person? What if you have the truth? Why don't there is another thing that happens with some people where if they know the truth, they're just like, well, I know the truth, and you don't know the truth. And we're just going to leave it like that. Yeah, I'm not going to explain the thing. And that's kind of the flip side of that, is if you're a truth founder, you found the truth, you can say like, oh, I know the truth, but I'm not going to express it and give it to you. I just know the truth. And that can be very annoying as well. But that's less emotionally focused. That's less focusing. Like people don't get as much, you don't see those people as much because that statement just makes you roll your eyes and go away, right? There's no, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong, and here's why. And that's dynamic and at least somewhat interesting. But I feel like there's better entertainment out there.
Better entertainment. Well, I would rather we use our energy a little more efficiently.
Yeah.
For one. So there's a lot of people that realize that truth is important, yet they don't realize that truth is not self-explanatory. So they don't look for better explanations of that truth. Instead, they just start spouting claims. And they expect that the other person will just accept those claims because it's the facts, right?
Right. Or they spout claims in hopes that somebody will go, no, you're wrong, and then they can start the argument, right? Because really what they're looking for is not necessarily for truth, it's just for the argument to start, right? And they say they're a truth seeker, but they're not really looking for the truth. They're looking for trouble. Yeah, they're looking for the trouble,
It's an easy way to get trouble to start.
Yeah.
For sure. Like either you can claim that the other person is just obtuse or dense, or something, and they just don't get it, and they're dumb, and you can look down your nose at them for it, or you can claim that they're being malicious, that they're lying, they know that what I'm saying is the truth, and they just are lying and whatever. So it's all a claim on intent, I guess, but it's just ridiculous drama, just ridiculous. And you'd think that the truth would be more uniting. I mean, it has the potential to be.
Yeah,
it's basically.
I disagree. I think the truth is in and of itself is not uniting. It's the interpretation of the truth. It's the understanding of why that truth is the way it is.
So is it the understanding of that truth that unites us?
I think
it's
so.
A common understanding
It's a
or
common
something?
understanding. It's not the truth itself. Right? For instance, say you have something that needs to get done, right? And one person says it needs to get done, and the group is like, well, they all understand at that point that they want to do it by this time, right? But if they all understand, if there's a departure in that understanding, and half the group wants it done by, the first of the month, and the other half wants it done by the end of the month, then you have a conflict. Then you have, and they're still arguing over the same thing that needs to get done. It's just that they're not actually, that the truth is that thing needs to get done. They're arguing over the priority of what time frame it needs to get done. So they're arguing over their understanding of what that truth actually is.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, if they're kind of fixated on trying to get to the truth and making that happen is really just about explaining what that truth is. And what happens is what I've seen is that with these explanations of truth, if we share them, and they tend to be internally compelling to others, because good explanations tend to be like that, it does gradually cause us to have that understanding, to sort of, so that we all kind of get on the same bandwagon. Yeah. And if we're all kind of like being compelled by the same explanation, there is a uniting pressure there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's not that truth is inherently derisive or uniting. I'd say that it's that truth is outside of that. It's the interpretation of the truth that is inherently uniting. And if everyone has the same interpretation of what's going on, even if that's wrong, it's still uniting. And, and you can look at this with like Q. Nobody's arguing that Q has said something or has not said something. Right? Nobody said, oh, Q didn't say this. Because it's all there. You can look up the fact that Q did say this. And even the timestamp of when he said it. But they are all arguing over whether or not the interpretation of Q is right. If his motives are right. If what he's saying is actually relevant to anything. Those are all just interpretations of the truth.
Yeah, it's true. Like, there's a big community that follows Q that's spouting all kinds of speculation on what Q means, and a lot of that could be wrong. But what happens is people that don't particularly like Q will see that these people are wrong sometimes, and they will misattribute Q to that.
Yes.
Q doesn't really make a point to be extremely clear about everything. He or she seems to make sure to not actually predict anything, so you can't actually tell what's going to happen.
They're like the Oracle of Delphi. They're like an oracle, where you're just like, I don't know, look at this Q clock. What is? What even is that? What?
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know.
So some people will just interpret that Q clock, and they'll be like, oh, this is amazing, and then other people will be like, this is not convincing at all. Like, this can't be true. This is just conspiracy, whatever, nonsense. And then so people will get in little fights online about this thing. But the truth value, the true false value of that Q clock isn't the interesting thing. It's the explanatory value. And you can tell if you judge it based on its explanatory value, you can see it doesn't really explain that much at all. And that's the problem therein. And I think everyone would agree on that. And really, it doesn't mean that the Q clock shouldn't be followed. It means we would like to have an explanation for why these coincidences keep happening.
Right. Yeah, and that's the other thing with Q proofs. Q proofs, I find very little actual explanatory value in them. They're there, and that's the thing. Right. They are proofs.
Descriptions of coincidences.
Yeah,
right?
They're descriptions of coincidences.
And it's really interesting.
Yeah, it can be really interesting. Sometimes it's less than interesting. Sometimes it's just quoting what Trump said, and a minute before he tweets it. And there are ways, I suppose, maybe of doing that. We don't know, but all of that's irrelevant. It's more about what Q is saying, what his message is, and what his intended message is. That can be debated, but that can be debated respectfully. Somebody might think Q means, Sessions is going to be out in, whatever, XYZ time. Another person has, no, Sessions is going to be out that. That's just debating, the priority. Whereas, what's happening now is you have a bunch of people that are like, saying, no, Q's just wrong. Everything is always, everything he comes out with is wrong. And this is the proof that he's wrong. Here's my little piece of evidence of an interpretation that somebody said somewhere down the line, and it turned out to be wrong, and now Q is wrong forever.
Yeah. Well, that's truth seekers trying to establish reliability of a particular source. Yeah. And they get really frustrated when a source isn't reliable. But guess what? Sources are not reliable. It's just the way it is. There is no such thing as a reliable source of information. I'm sorry to say that.
Imagine my shock.
But a truth seeker will hate that kind of thing. They'll be like, no, it cannot be true. That you can always get more reliable. You can always have more reliable than, you might not have perfect reliability or whatever, some other roll out of it, but it's essentially true that you can't ever get a reliable source.
Even then, if God comes down and whispers in your ear the truth, then how do you know that's God?
And how do you know he's not just telling you something to get you to do something? Yeah. Because that's God's plan, and it all works out. Yeah. Well, he's just trying to.
What if it's like Matrix, where the Oracle tells Neo what he needed to hear to become the one?
Yes. Yeah. So it's not bad. It's just maybe not the truth. Yeah. Or maybe it's a thing that could be ambiguously truthful. Like there's one meaning that would be truthful and another meaning that wouldn't be. Right. And it's just how you take it. So how are you going to unpack that without an explanation for it? You can't. So these truth seekers are like running circles. They're like hamsters in a wheel. Yeah. Well, and never finding the fact that they really need to be looking for better explanations.
And they always seem to follow this very particular pattern too, which is really odd. They found something, especially when running into Q, but I imagine that this is applicable to a lot of other things, where there is an unreliable source that they hate that source so much, they focus all their attention on that source, and it just hurts them, because most people intuitively understand no source is reliable, but they understand at least not all sources are reliable, and you can take in information without having to believe it. That's a common, human ability. That's something that we all have. But truth seekers, they want to deny a source because it has been wrong, or it might say something.
But by that metric, we'd have to deny every source. Yes, because every source has been wrong at some point in its history.
And so they get very focused on the source being wrong, and they have to tell the world that it has been wrong once. And then, of course, that brings on the people who are like, hey, just, back off. Everyone's wrong sometimes. It's not necessarily the end. It doesn't mean
disinformation is necessary.
A bad, actor or anything like that. It can mean a whole bunch of different things. But the fact that they're wrong means that they're evil, means that they have to, attack it. And
for a truth seeker, being wrong is the worst.
Yeah.
The worst thing.
Yeah.
But really, like, for someone like us, it's not strictly bad. Like, it's not a bad thing so much. What would be bad is to not be able to tell that it's wrong.
Right.
Like, that would be worse. So it's better to be capable of correcting for those errors, especially over the long term. And the faster, the better, really.
Yeah.
But being wrong is just sort of a natural. That's just the way we are. Like, errors are inevitable. So it's kind of a bad metric to use. It's a bad aim if that's the first thing that you're looking for.
Whether or not they have been wrong or are wrong or whatever it is, there's a wonderful thing about philosophy that some really good philosophers will do, and they'll say, suppose you're right. Meaning, suppose your idea is correct. Suppose everything that you say is true. Well, that means this, right? And a good debater, a good, user of ideas and understanding of how these things work, well, I've seen many people, I wouldn't say win, but be very persuasive by saying, if you're right, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. Or it means this. And that can be very persuasive in how you construct and play with an idea, more persuasive than just saying, no, you're wrong, it can't be this way, it can never be this way, it will never be this way.
Or even providing evidence. Doesn't work as well as you'd think it would. Because evidence is interpreted as well, and the interpretation is fallible.
Well, all you've done with evidence is gather facts, and facts are nothing if they're not interpreted.
Yeah. So facts are theory laden. That whole thing.
Yep.
Popper would say. But we have. What was I going to say? With the trying to have a compelling argument is really about making the logical conflict, explicit, because it's hard to get around that.
Yes. Yeah, and that's
so for anyone listening to that, they see the logical conflict and they're like, oh.
Yeah.
So for instance, truth seeking, there's a logical conflict in there.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is its aim. So its
proposed
aim is truth.
Yeah.
It wants to find the truth. In order to do that, it sets out to find facts and ideas that it can feel confident in.
Yeah.
And once you've done that, you've engaged in a sort of self-delusion. You're kind of trapped into feeling some way about an idea, judging it as true or false, setting the true ones into your bag of facts, and then those are true.
Yeah.
Are you going to come back to that and reevaluate?
Well,
maybe.
But more often than not, what happens is somebody goes along and looks through your bag of facts with the ideas on top, and they say, well, this idea isn't quite right. And then you go, no, it is right. I know. It's in my bag of facts.
I know it's... Yep. Here's reasons or whatever. So it's a never-ending argument of justifying why you think that should have been in your bag of facts. But at the end of it, you don't ever get to the truth.
Well, you're not.
Nothing in what you're saying is compelling.
At that point, you're not seeking the truth. You're seeking to defend your bag of facts.
Yeah, which is why we're calling it self-delusion. But in that, you've already contradicted your claim. You're trying to get to the truth, but really you're just trying to feel confident.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's a very big difference there. Feeling confident and actually having truth are two different things.
Yeah.
And truth seekers will often just get them confused.
And gathering facts will never make you really feel that confident. You have to have, in order to gain confidence, you have to be able to construct your ideas and know that your ideas are sound. And be willing to change them for more sound ideas, which will give you more confidence. There you go. It can be very easy. Anyway, we were the Epistemologers. Please like and subscribe, and comment as you see fit, and explain your reasoning. Show us some stuff. Cool.